Hello, I'm George from nDreams. We're here with the assembly at EGX 2015.
And I'm Snowy. So just give everyone a little quick overview of the game. So what it is, where it is, what's coming out, when it's coming out, all that.
Sure, so the assembly is our first-person VR adventure game for PlayStation VR, Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. It will be coming out early next year. We're aiming to be ready for when the headsets launch. And the assembly itself is a collective of scientists, academics and engineers called the Assembly, who are all about progress for the sake of progress, discovery for the sake of discovery, knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but they're not interested in government oversight. They're even less interested in society's morals. So they built a big underground facility deep in the heart of the Nevada desert where they can conduct their weird and wonderful experiments away from the prying eyes of the public. The game has a dual protagonist setup, so you'll be playing as two different characters. We've got our female protagonist is Madeline Stone. She's a scientist who's brilliant, capable, super intelligent, but totally out of her depth when it comes to the assembly. The story picks up with her having been inducted by, you might say abducted by, the assembly for what turns out to be the world's most arduous job interview process. And we also have Cal, he's our male protagonist. He is a virologist. He has been with the assembly for some time. I don't want to spoil exactly how he came to join the assembly, but I can say that he's now of the opinion that his research isn't necessarily being used for the common good. And so he's looking for a way to get out of the assembly, but just as it's tough to join the assembly, it's much, much tougher to leave. So you might say that Madeline sees the assembly how it would want to be seen, and Cal sees the assembly how it really is. And their paths and their stories crisscross and intertwine throughout the game. The game focuses around discovery, exploration with a strong emphasis on player choice that leads to several different endings. We also have traditional adventure game mechanics in there like collectibles and puzzle solving as well.
Will it be playable without VR equipment? Because of course not everyone's going to be able to get their hands on VR equipment, so have you got any plans for that?
Right now we're building it fully with VR in mind. I suppose if the community were to turn around on release and say we really want to play this game in a non-VR version, then that's something that we could definitely do, although it's not something we're working on at the moment. I think it's probably a lot easier taking a VR game and making it non-VR than taking a non-VR game and making it VR. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but right now we really want to focus on making a really comprehensive VR experience from the ground up, because I think the community would probably be a bit peeved if we tried to, do a half effort on one or the other. It's probably better to focus really hard on one and then try and port it than make something that's not really one thing or another thing.
That completely makes sense. Now, if anyone is at Eurogamer, or EGX, sorry, it's not Eurogamer anymore, EGX, they'll notice that VR isn't massive. So, as part of developing for VR, what's one of the biggest things you've learned? One of the biggest lessons that you came into and you learned?
I suppose there's three that I can easily share with you today. First of all, poly count counts for a lot less than high-resolution textures. So long as materials in the virtual world look like they're made out of the thing they're supposed to be made out of, so wood like wood, metal like metal, especially reflective surfaces, then your brain will think that you really are somewhere else. What else? You can't deliver a HUD in the traditional way that you would in a normal video game. Stuff around the edges of the screen doesn't really work, because in real life you're not really focusing around the edges of your vision. You're focusing straight on. We can't put stuff there because that's where you're looking. Also in real life, if it doesn't work in real life, it's not going to work in a video game. So like health bars, and it needs to exist on an object within the game in order to make sense. So Cal, for part of the game, has like a Google Glasses type device, so we can overlay stuff via that, but he's not wearing it all the time, and Madeline doesn't have it, so it's delivering the same kind of information that you would via a HUD without using a HUD. So for example, on interactable objects in the game, you have little markers that appear on them, but they're still fixed to an object within the game, so that when you move closer or further away from them in 3D space, then similarly you have a sense of proportional distance to them. And then I suppose the third thing would be movement within 3D space without triggering simulation sickness. It's something that we've really spent an awful lot of time making sure that our control system really allows players to freely move around the virtual environment as intuitively and as simply as you would with a normal twin-stick first-person shooter game, but without triggering simulation sickness. So the control scheme that we've developed for this is slightly more unique and specific to the VR experience than with a traditional flat screen setup.
Cool. Yeah, that all makes sense generally. Make it look real and you'll believe it's real.
Yes.
So, you got 2 characters.
Yes.
And you said there's going to be some adventure game stuff.
Yes.
Can you give us a sort of example of what challenges they might come across in the game? Or is that all secret?
I'm just trying to think. They are all secret. I'm just trying to think what we've shown so far. Yes, so we've already shown. So one of the first challenges that, or trials I should say, that Madeline comes across is that she's put into a room in which there's a big banquet table with mannequins around the outside. Each one has a different profession, and then behind the mannequins in this big room, they each have their own kind of little cloister that's dedicated to them. So the doctor's got like a doctor's area, the fireman's got like a fireman's area, the politician's got like a politician's area. And there's been a murder in the room, a bit like Cluedo, and you have to solve who's committed the murder, or which 2 of the mannequins have committed the murder out of all the various different people there, by listening to their stories and also interacting with the objects within their own specific areas. And it's a process of deduction, so it's kind of like a logic puzzle. And if you get it right, then you can leave the room and continue through the rest of the game. If you don't get it right, you get electrocuted.
So a lot of the game is going to focus on sort of puzzles like that?
That is the only puzzle like that in the game. So we're trying to make each puzzle section unique.
Okay then, that's cool. That's very cool. And as you said, it'll be out hopefully around the launch. They're all launching at very different time.
So we want to be in the launch window for each of the various different VR headsets, which means in real talk, if we're not there on launch day, then we definitely want to be there on launch week. If we can't make it launch week, then we definitely want to be in launch fortnight. But I think we definitely want to be within the first 2 weeks of each of the VR headsets launch.
And that brings up a good question, of course. Does each headset require a different development, I guess? Does it all...
Well, we're making the game in Unreal Engine 4, so it's much more standardized than if we were, if we had our own custom engine, I suppose. And the output quality amongst all the various different VR headsets is, again, we're very impressed by the power of PlayStation VR, and it can absolutely stand toe-to-toe, at least as far as the assembly is concerned, with HTC Vive and with Oculus Rift.
Very cool. Well, thank you. That's been George with the assembly, which is, I assume, PC and PlayStation, going by that.
That's right.
You can find that around launch of the headsets, hopefully.
Sure, and as you can see on the post, or you can't quite see it, if you want to find us, our Twitter handle is @nDreamsVR. The hashtag for the assembly is #theassemblyVR. We're also on Facebook, and we're also on Pinterest and YouTube as well.
Okay, cool. They'll all be on the video at the side, I guess.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.